Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the American University of Armenia and Armenia. I'm Alan Armakanyan. I'm the director of the AUA, American University of Armenia, Acopian Center for the Environment. We are the environmental research, education, and outreach arm of the university. We're part of the university. And we are thrilled to host you here with this IAEA training, which we believe is critical. Dr. Bovasyan, our president, will make some introductions and welcome remarks, and he will talk a little bit more about the history of AUA. But let me just say that actually 2024 July, if it was June, it would have been very kind of meaningful because it would have been the 70th anniversary of the first nuclear reactor put in civilian use in Obninsk, I think, Russia was the first one. That was June 1954 was the first time it was put into operation civilian use. And I believe it provided electricity to Moscow. And now we're 70 years later dealing with a pretty interesting distribution of age of nuclear reactors globally. So if we look at IAEA's PRIS database, there is about 140 reactors that are more than 40 years old. And there are more than 245 reactors that are more than 35 years old. So as IAEA said, the nuclear decommissioning market is set to boom. So this is, I guess, partly what this group and IAEA's decommissioning network is about, to develop the capabilities, capacities for decommissioning and with proper environmental remediation aspects. So with that, let me introduce you to our president, Dr. Bovasyan, Bruce Bovasyan. He's been with us for many, many years. He went, and he's originally from Tufts University as a professor of mathematics, and now he is the president for the second time of the American University of Armenia. Dr. Bovasyan, please.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning for the IAEA's Interregional Training Course on Sustainability and Circularity in Decommissioning and Environmental Remediation Projects. This event will run through the week, and it's hosted by the Government of Armenia in collaboration with the American University of Armenia, or AUA. We're very pleased to host this critical training here in Armenia and here at AUA. I heard just a few moments ago the list of countries from which people are participating, an impressive list. As Alan said, let me reiterate, welcome to AUA and welcome to Armenia. When it comes to the topic of nuclear power, it turns out you're in what may be a unique country in some way. Armenia has perhaps the dubious distinction of being a location where a nuclear power plant was actually decommissioned and then subsequently recommissioned. I'm not an authority on the subject, but my colleagues here indicate to me that as far as they've been able to tell, this may be the only country where this has happened. The lead organization at AUA for hosting this conference is our Acopian Center for the Environment. It's a regional center of research excellence on many environmental issues, including water, waste, energy, and the use of IT tools in all these areas. The Acopian Center has been a pioneer in bringing to Armenia the concepts and the tools of closed-loop systems and circular economy, key concepts underlying this IAEA training. In fact, there'll be a session on day 3 where AUA experts and their colleagues will offer an overview of circular economy approaches to the power sector. This is the kind of thing that AUA strives to do, interdisciplinary work across a variety of disciplines, such as this event, that is aimed at solving problems in the region, solving problems in the country and the region. AUA was founded on September 21, 1991, which you may recognize as the date when Armenia declared independence from the Soviet Union. That's a complete coincidence. You couldn't have planned it that way if you tried. In fact, AUA, the idea for AUA emerged after the devastating 1988 Spitak earthquake in the northwest of the country, as engineers and scientists from a number of different countries came and met with their counterparts in Armenia to talk about ways of preventing a disaster of that magnitude from occurring. And the idea of AUA was born at that time. For the first just a bit over 20 years, AUA offered master's degrees in a number of subjects. It was geared toward, for example, mid-career professionals who, after the Soviet Union period of Armenia's history, wanted to retool their skills and align them more with Western skills and connecting Armenia to essentially the global value chain in the West. In 2013, AUA introduced undergraduate programs as well. By that time, AUA had grown to about 400 graduate students. When the undergraduate program started in 2013 and ramped up over the course of 4 years, it grew, and over time, it now contains about 2,000 students, plus the 400 graduate students. So the university currently has about 2,400 students. There are 11 graduate programs, degree programs, and 8 undergraduate degree programs at this time, with plans to expand further. And again, colleges that we have here at AUA are a College of Science and Engineering, a College of Business and Economics, a College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and a College of Health Sciences. And again, these kinds of interdisciplinary projects are just the kind that we love to work on and love to host here. The other thing that I'd like to point out about this week's project is that we have 12 registered participants from Armenia, not including those from AUA, and we're delighted about that too. Some of the participants are from Armenia's nuclear-related agencies. Others are from the environmental assessment and remediation field, and it's inspiring to us to see the growing interest in building this kind of capacity in Armenia. This training that you're embarking on focuses on the very critical topic of decommissioning power plants, particularly nuclear power plants, and all of the related technical and environmental remediation activities that need to be considered when doing that. The training introduces a holistic approach that integrates technical, environmental, social, and economic considerations when planning and implementing decommissioning and environmental remediation, or D&ER. Particularly when dismantling, decontaminating, and demolishing buildings, including the cleanup, the long-term waste management implications. The training will offer an understanding of sustainability indicators that can be used in the design and the implementation of these kinds of projects. I hope that while you're here this week, you have some chance to interact with some of our AUA faculty. There aren't too many students here during the summer. The halls are filled with them in the academic year. We do have some summer courses going on. There are some students you may see, but there are faculty members certainly, and I do hope you'll have a chance to interact with them. They maintain active research agendas. Most recently, and perhaps relevantly for this, AUA launched a project called STREAK, Strengthening Research in Armenia for Energy Transition Toward Climate Solutions, with funding from the European Union's Horizon Europe program that brings together Armenia and European partners to strengthen research capacity for energy transition from a fossil fuel economy to a decarbonized economy, which promises an energy secure and energy resilient future for Armenia and for other countries in the region as well. While AUA, through the Acopian Center that I mentioned, the Acopian Center for the Environment, is the lead partner in this project, the project includes other partners from Armenia, including the National Polytechnic University of Armenia and the Science Research Institute of Energy in Armenia. Armenia's energy transition research agenda is really vast, and capacities are limited. So universities and research institutions really need to join forces with one another on these kinds of projects. But of course, this kind of research capacity also requires strong partners with experience and the needed research networks, and our European partners, for example, from Italy and Ireland, bring to us this much needed experience and networking. These include Maynooth University in Ireland, the universities of Genoa and Campania in Italy, and Artemac, which is a company specializing in simulation and serious games, also from Italy. The European Union's Horizon Europe call, under which STREAKS was funded, was among the program's what they term widening calls. These are calls that seek to expand the European research area, ERA for European Research Area. ERA is Europe's ambition to create a single borderless market for research, innovation, and technology across the EU. And Armenia has been part of this process for more than a decade, but efforts have been intensifying just over the past few years. AUA has been a recipient of multiple Horizon grants, but this was the first widening grant for AUA. There are more to come in 2025, such as a Center for Ethics in Public Affairs called Etica, that will be situated in our College of Humanities and Social Sciences and operated in collaboration with our research partners at Trinity College Dublin. So again, I hope you'll take the time during this training to explore AUA and speak with our faculty and explore Armenia as well during this visit. As I said, many students have left for the summer, but there'll be opportunities, I hope, for you to interact with faculty and learn more about what's going on here. Please let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything that we can do to make your stay more comfortable. And in the meantime, from the Office of the President of AUA, I wish you every success in this important training course that we're proud and pleased to host here. Best wishes, good luck, and in Armenian we would say, Hajochutun for all your endeavors, success.
While Horst is doing his salutations, let me also introduce you to Arpine Zakarian. Arpine, can you just stand up if you have the ability to turn around? Arpine, without her, this event would not have been possible. Her, tireless efforts to coordinate, organize, and have been indispensable. And she's here for, of course, she'll be here for the rest of the week, and she'll support us in every effort. So, Horst, it's your turn.
Yes,
Which presentation do you need?
oh, before I go, perhaps in general.
Okay.
So, good morning, everybody. Many of you probably know me from courses. But for those who are not familiar with me, my name is Horst Monken Fernandez. I am an environmental specialist in the IAEA, particularly in the Decommissioning and Environmental Remediation section of the Nuclear Energy Department. So this is a training course that is organized through the technical department of the IAEA, Technical Operation Department, and it's part of an interregional project. The number is ING 2020, you don't need to know about it, but focusing on the decommissioning and environmental remediation. This particular event was not in the work plan, but due to the very important things that Professor Bogosian just mentioned, it made very clear the need for the case to integrate both remediation and decommissioning, but also to take a look into sustainability and circularity in the scope of these two areas. So working together with our experts that are here, but also with experts that support our projects, we put together this training course program, which I believe will be a very interesting opportunity for you to get good information and good perspectives on these aspects. In this sense, I'm very grateful to have AUA organizing this event. When I went through the Acopian Center mission visions in the internet, I said, well, this was a perfect match, because what Professor Bogosian just mentioned goes very much in the direction of what we are trying to explore. And I hope you will verify this during this course. So it's my first time in Armenia, by the way, and we had a chance yesterday with my colleagues Catrinel, Turcanu, and Giuseppe to go around the city, and we were absolutely fascinated with the energy that we could feel, the very kindness of the people, and the food was very good as well, I have to say. So it was a very pleasant impression that we have, and I think it's a very good beginning for the activities we will have. And as it happened in all courses that we take, what we expect, specifically because of the training opportunities we will provide you, that you will interact and form bonds, form friendship, partnerships that will sustain after the course. And the same we expect to sustain with AUA, because it's very important to have strong partners supporting our programs. The agency itself needs the partnerships of strong organizations, strong institutions, and strong experts to deliver the mission that we are tasked to do. Without this, we cannot achieve our mission. I understand that many of you had very hard travel schemes to reach Armenia. Some delays happen in the airports, and some of you missed the airplane. For us, at least for me, it was a straight flight direct from Vienna. So I appreciate that you may be tired today, and there is the jet lag, but with time during the week, I think that you will adapt. When you are adapted to the new jet time zone, you need to start everything again to adapt back in your own country. But that's life. We can overcome that. So once again, thank you for our host. We have been working together, arranging all the details. You cannot imagine how many things we need to fix. We have to establish a whole scope and agreement, all the bureaucracy that it implies. The IAEA in itself is a very bureaucratic organization. We understand that. There is a very strong group in the back in Vienna checking all the itineraries and all the transfers, and that puts a lot of pressure also on our hosts to adjust to common rules. They need to meet each other, so it's a lot of work. But important that you are here, and I would like to thank you very sincerely, because you believe that it was worth to come from your countries to Armenia to take this course. And we expect that we will fulfill your expectations and deliver the best quality course we had. I wrote in my mail that we had an all-star team of experts, including our host, and I really meant that because we have been working with these issues for quite a while, and we want to deliver you very updated and very important information. So, having said that, we are on the time, right on time, to start. Just some changes in the agenda. We cannot go without that. So the next step would be the introduction from yourselves. But as there is an issue with the Microsoft Teams, we were not able to upload all the presentations in this computer we are working with. So we're going to do this later on, okay? So that you still have the chance to make your presentations. And then we'll start with a presentation of mine. Those who did not upload the presentation can come with a flash drive, I guess, and then we will upload in this computer. We can do that over the coffee break, right? And but it will not be nice to start without knowing each other. So you were able to know Professor Allen, Professor Bogosian. But starting from this part here of the second row, I will just ask you to introduce yourself by telling your name and the country you are coming from and what kind of organization you are working with. So, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Adi Wijayanto. I come from Indonesia. I work as a radiation protection officer in radioactive waste installation and in Green National Research and Innovation Agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anand Omani from Thailand. I'm from Radioactive Waste Management of Thailand from Institute of Nuclear Technology. My work is about routine my work is about routine monitoring around our facilities.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tito Baskara Adimeda, usually called Tito. I'm from a research center for nuclear materials and radioactive waste technology in Indonesia, National Research and Innovation Agency. My work is, actually I'm a geologist, I'm more familiar with site preparation and uranium exploration, but here because of the main task of the institute is for decommissioning and environmental remediation, so I appointed to be here in Armenia. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Thiago Navarro. I'm from Brazil. I work in the nuclear industries of Brazil and I'm an environmental civil engineer, and now we are trying to begin our decommission process of the first uranium mining in Brazil. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrea Fuente. I am from Argentina. I work in the National Energy Commission in project the environment.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Alexoiu. I'm from Romania. I'm working as nuclear safety advisor within the Romanian Nuclear Regulatory Authority. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna Malakova. I'm from Russia. I work in American Federal Medical Biophysical Center in the Department of Population Safety. Nice to meet you.
Hello everyone, my name is Anastasia Shitova. I'm from Russia. I work as a junior researcher for Armenian Federal Medical Biophysical Research Center, Department of the Public Radiation Safety. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Anna Hedapetyan. I'm from Armenia and I work in high voltage energy networks in Armenia.
Hello to everyone. I am Lucinia Hambaran from Armenia. I am a researcher. I research the freshwater ecosystem in Armenia, and I am teacher in Yerevan State University, chair of Department of Ecology and Nature Protection. Sorry. Nice to meet you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Acopian Center. I'm from Uzbekistan. I'm representing here a committee on industrial radiation and nuclear safety, which is a regulatory authority under the cabinet minister. Thanks so much.
Welcome everyone. My name is Ahmed Momani from Jordan. I am working in the uranium mining project in Jordan with the Jordan Atomic Energy Commission.
Hello everyone, my name is Islam Gendawi, Doctor of Material Chemistry. I come from Egypt and I'm working at the Nuclear Material Authority of Egypt. I'm running mining of its project and leaching of uranium from its ore and try to develop eco-friendly nanomaterials for removing the uranium from its waste stream. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Ikram, Quality Assurance and Quality Control Engineer for Nuclear Power Plants Authority, the owner operator of the first nuclear power plant on Egypt. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Florin Vasile from Romania. I'm from Nuclear Agency and Radioactive Waste. I work in Emergency Situation Department in Operational Center for Radioactivity Waste Management. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Stelian Orășanu, I'm from Romania. I work in the Nuclear Agency and for radioactive waste, responsible for decommissioning. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Armina Arzumanyan from Armenia, from Scientific Research Institute of Energy. I am leader engineer. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Nazli Gevorkyan. I'm from Armenia. I work at the Scientific Research Institute of Energy. I'm leader engineer. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sabah khair. I'm Mijda Andras. I represent Foundation to Save Energy Armenia. We are mainly involved in policy, energy policy. We also work together with AUA in development of the first version of Green Taxonomy for Armenia. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming. You could introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Martin Bedgosyan. I'm from Armenia. Currently working in Armenian Nuclear Regulatory Authority. My position is head of radioactive waste section. Responsible for decommissioning and monitoring of environmental monitoring. I am in nuclear energy from 2001, starting from nuclear power plant, R&D, Ministry of Energy, and now in regulatory. So thank you and welcome to Armenia, our guests. I hope you will have successful training course and you will have time to see my very beautiful country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashok Acopian. I represent Armenian Nuclear Power Plant. Currently, I'm in the position of the head of the decommissioning group in the Armenian Nuclear Power Plant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Konstantin Piskula. I am from Armenian Nuclear Power Plant, head of the Laboratory of Radiation Monitoring and Environmental Protection. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Marcin Gasparyan, head of research group at the Institute of Botany and from the field of biodiversity research and conservation.
Good morning, everyone. I am Bohome Shiravan from Iran. I am working in Atomic Energy Organization of Iran. I am engineer.
Hello everyone, my name is Mustafa Sadimirad. I'm from Iran. I've been working in Atomic Energy Organization of Iran for 14 years. My working field is HSE in mining and milling facilities. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Can you hold the microphone? Yeah.
My name is Sabri. I'm mechanical engineering from Iraqi Atomic Energy Commission. I work in dismantling department. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jadar Pinjan. I am from Iraq. I am mechanical engineer working in Iraqi Atomic Energy Commission. And I am, my field is the decommissioning in research reactor ART 5000. Thank you for everyone.
Hello, my name is Natalia Shadibet. I'm from Hungary and I'm an environmental engineer and work for the Hungarian Atomic Energy Authority as a nuclear safety inspector. Thank you.
Thank you. We're missing our experts that
Hello everyone, I'm Katrina Tsukanu. I'm working for about 20 years at the Belgian Nuclear Research Center. My expertise lies with decision analysis and social aspects of environmental management and how to integrate social and technical aspects together when taking decisions.
Katrina is also the chair of one project we are leading where we are developing the agency called the Maestri project. It's represent management systems for environmental management. And in this project, we work with different approaches on how to make decisions in complex situations involving decommissioning and environmental remediation. And the exercise that we will be doing this week will give an opportunity to put together in practice these approaches. We are being supported in this effort by Professor Munda, who will kindly introduce himself.
Hello, good morning everybody. My name is Giuseppe Munda. I'm working for the European Commission at the Joint Research Center. That is a kind of technical arm of the European Commission. We are responsible for a decision analysis lab. I'm an expert in decision analysis, particularly multi-criteria decision analysis.
In addition to Catrinello and Giuseppe, we have two other experts that will be contributing their lectures virtually. One is Professor Paul Bartos from the UK, who will introduce the sustainability indicators that are used in the scope of the SURF UK, which is an initiative on sustainable remediation in UK, but also with branches in different countries. And also Christine Ealing from Sweden that will be focusing specifically on sustainability of decommissioning. So as you can see, we will have a very wide range of topics that need to be integrated in the process of what we are doing. But one of the things that became very clear for us in our training course experiences is that if you don't put in practice the concepts, it doesn't work quite well, because you get exposed to a lot of theory, a lot of good things, but then the exercises give you the opportunity for you to see in which way these concepts come to play in very specific situations. So I was watching, and I'm a very big fan of Netflix, I was watching a film called, I think it was a series called Dark Waters. And have you seen? And watched, yeah. And it put together the very type of situation that allows us to think very broadly about the different concepts that we will be dealing here. And with the assistance of the experts of the group, we try to shape the exercise in a way that we could put in practice all the elements that we will be doing. So you have been already divided into groups, and I will show in which groups you are, so that you can already spot your colleagues and start strategizing the ideas that you need to put in place. What we need to do is to distribute the Armenian colleagues. I hope that you will take part throughout the whole duration of the course, all the activities, right? Excellent. So we will try to distribute you in the groups so that we are nine Armenian participants.
12 registered. We'll see how many actually show up.
Yeah, I could count 9 present today. It is important that you bear with us, you stay with us, so that the exercise, in a way, will build up on what you learned during that particular day. So that will give you the hints of what you will need to do the exercise. And then on the Friday, you have the chance to present your solutions for what is being proposed. And it's not competitive, that's not the idea, and that is not right and wrong answer, let's say, from the outset, because you may appreciate the problem through different angles, to value different types of approaches, and this is what we want to take from you, your understanding of the concepts and how did you apply the concepts, and eventually we are able to confront the different solutions from different perspectives. And this is an interregional training event. And then it's very interesting because we are mixing inputs, views on social elements, cultural elements, political elements, economical elements. That will very much depend on where you're coming from, on your understanding. So when you work in a group it's very diverse, then you have the chance to see the views and the opinions of those you are working with. So that's the interesting aspect of the exercise. With that said, of course, we did not manage to get all the Romanians together. We tried not to manage to have all the Egyptians together. So we tried to make it more diverse as possible. So group 1 is, and then you can raise just your hand so that the colleagues can identify. It's Argentina, Indonesia, Iraq, back there, and Romania. So you are group 1. So you can start getting together. Group 2 is from Brazil, Thiago, Indonesia, Jordania, and Russia. Excellent. Group 3, also from Egypt, Iran. Oh, yeah. Malawi. Oh, we don't have Malawi, by the way.
I don't think he was not able to come.
Oh, okay. So we're going to fix this. And Russia. And then Egypt again. Iran. Romania. And Thailand. And finally, we have Hungary, back there, Iraq, Romania, and Uzbekistan. So we will distribute the colleagues from Armenia in these groups. But there, of course, there will be more than one Armenian in each group, but doesn't affect the whole thing. Okay. But at the moment you have any question, any clarification you want, anything, any additional information before we jump into the...
Just that the Wi-Fi password is there if you want to log in. And then in the process we'll tell you where the cafeteria is and so on and so forth.
Okay. So as for the change in the agenda, just a minor change. We are here, our already a bit late, but doesn't matter. We can fix this. I will skip the introduction of participants, and I will talk about the environmental behavior of man-made and artificial radionuclides in different contamination situations, which will be just this one. This one is coming up here. Then we have a coffee break, 10:45. And then we can see if we can already have the presentations from the participants already in the slot. If not, we will just push up this other lecture here, and then the same for this one. And then we will have the presentation towards the end of the day, which doesn't kill us anyhow. Then tomorrow we have social and ethical aspects relevant to DNER, and I got from Professor Bogosian that this was being held in the university. Sustainability and Circularity in Environmental Remediation. Then Giuseppe will speak about NCDA and social multi-criteria decision analysis. This one will be virtual by Paul Bardos, and this is already one change. He sent us a mail indicating that 2 slots to speak about indicators will not be the best use of time. So with that in mind, he proposed to make a group work. It will be in virtual participation, where you will be able to make the selection of sustainability indicators. So in that lecture, it would be very nice if it would be more or less sitting together as a group, so that we can already discuss. And these indicators will be used in the exercise. So it's an iterative process. We'll build up with time. Then on Wednesday, we'll have a presentation from UAE, AUA, Circular Economy of the Power section. Then we have the coffee break, applications of NCDA to environmental remediation with Catrinel. And then a virtual presentation by Ms. Christina Healing on sustainability and circularity in decommissioning. Then we have a group work, and in the afternoon, we have NCDA tools, particular software developed by Giuseppe on Socrates. And then on Thursday, we have the field group, and we have plenty of time to work together so that you can make the presentations already on Friday. Nothing prevents you to work in the evenings, by the way, right? You can have lunch, dinner together, let's get a beer together and discuss the exercise. No problem with that. I will not interfere on this. So even when you are having lunch, you can discuss, because that's the way it's very interactive. Catrinella, Giuseppe, any inputs from you? Anything that I missed talking about? No?
Of course, Amaya just showed up. Can you introduce himself also?
Oh, yes, of course.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amar Dalakan. I'm an environmental consultant with other 20 years of experience, specializing in assessment and management of environmental risks and impacts during preparation and implementation of projects in power transmission and distribution, heat supply, agriculture, renewable energy, energy efficiency, construction, etc. I hold a Doctor of Engineering degree from State Engineering University. Now it is Polytechnic University, National Polytechnic University of Armenia.
Thank you. I think that your background will be very useful to the exercise, because we will be dealing with a lot of these concepts, right? So, with all the important things said,
you need.
Yeah, I like to move a little bit. Now I can take a little bit my uniform of a bureaucrat and make it more like relaxed. These are the formalities of representing the IAEA. Yeah. So the idea here during this week is to give the elements that you need to consider when you are dealing with remediation and decommissioning in terms of the sustainability and circularity. But there are some technical aspects that you need to keep in mind. And we are dealing with a very specific area, which is the radio ecology. So we need to understand the radionuclides that we are dealing with. And definitely for some of you, this will not be new, but just a recap. And for others, may be important information to pay attention to. So this presentation was put together with my former colleague, Gerhard Pohl from Germany. He was working in the BFS and has worked with the agency for a bit of time. And I took advantage of that presentation. So the content is about contamination situation in related radionuclides and radionuclides in the environment, exposure pathway, environmental behavior radionuclides, importance of transfer process for human exposure, and exposure scenarios. I ask you to be very mindful of this conversation here, because everything you will see here will be used in the exercise. We are not providing too much. I had a big discussion with Catherine and Giuseppe yesterday, to what extent we should provide you some guidance. And Catherine is a very fierceful and very strong and persuasive person, and it was very hard to make the case that we would not be willing to provide you much information. So you need to dig it in there and go after the key issues that we need to do the exercise. And part of this will be in this presentation. Okay, go. So contamination situations. In principle, an operation should not lead to major contamination, in principle. But particularly in the past, that was not the case. Particularly in the nuclear area, you need to understand that most of the nuclear activities, particularly in the 50s, 60s, they were not developed for energy production. We spoke about Obelisk, the first time that nuclear energy was used for electricity generation. But the whole thing was developed for production of weapons. And at that time, you can understand that the security was overruling safety. So it was a project of national importance, and what has been done all over the world did not really pay attention to the proper rules, the proper regulatory requirements, the safety considerations, and these developments led to the contamination of important areas that now need to be taken care of and still ongoing. So this contamination of areas many of them resulted in the past activities. These can cause prolonged radiation exposures to people due to short-lived radionuclides. This may not require remediation because they will decay. But there are radionuclides with higher half-lives, more than 1 year, but even much more, like in the case of radium, uranium, and thorium, that will mean prolonged contamination, persistence in the environment. In these cases, there is no ongoing deposition of radionuclides from the event. What does this mean? This is not a situation of an accident, because an accident is a very punctual release of contaminants to the atmosphere, and then you have the deposition of the radionuclides over soils and water bodies. This is not necessarily the case when you're dealing with contamination or areas from past activities. In terms of the time aspects, it can have happened decades ago, like weapons tests, mining activities in the past. In case of accidental release, consideration start after the emergency phase deposition has ended. So we need to distinguish in terms of an accident what is the emergency response and the remediation response. The remediation, the emergency response is essentially to get control over the release of the radionuclides into the environment. Once this is done, you start, you have a transition to the remediation step per se. And this is where we play our role. Although I have to say that many of the decisions that are made in the emergency response will have a very important influence on the emergency phase, right? And as much as we try to persuade the colleagues so that we can work in a more integrated way, so that emergency response and remediation can be connected to each other. But this is a very difficult thing to do because there is a kind of very vertical thinking, and one of the things we need to achieve is be more transboundary, more transversal in the kind of things we are doing, and not be very isolated in terms of emergency response, remediation response, so on and so forth. And important thing, a decision needs to be taken whether further actions are needed to control exposures. So this is a very important point. You are in front of something, you need to make a decision. And this is exactly what you'll be asked to do in the exercise. You need to make a decision about the situation that is presented to you. Contamination situations that are considered: release of radionuclides during nuclear facilities. Chernobyl is a very classic example. Fukushima, these recent ones. Residues from uranium mining containing natural radionuclides, for those who work with mine, so we are talking about those things, right? And in the past, specifically in Central Asia, a lot of the residues from mining operations were deposited in the environment in piles without no major attention to the consequences of the different mechanisms that could disperse the radionuclides into the environment. Residues from metal ore containing natural radionuclides. This is a very important case because we are talking about 30 plus countries with nuclear power, right? Something like 30, 32. Some of them are embarking now. But when we talk about these industries here, residues from metal ore, and not only metal ore, but also other activities, we are talking about hundreds of countries. These are the called norm-related industries, naturally occurring related industries. So we have the oil and gas industry in many countries, and this is something we need to take care of. These oil and gas platforms, onshore and offshore, will need to be decommissioned. It will be generating waste. This waste needs to be managed. We have a specific project how to deal with these situations, because for many countries this will be even more important than what they have in terms of nuclear power, specifically if they don't have nuclear power. So this will be the issue for them to deal. Past releases of material from facilities with insufficient or no regulation and control. That is another problem. Unintended spreading of radionuclides from industrial or medical radiation sources. Have you heard about the Goiânia accident? Right? It was in my country. By the way, I come from Brazil, the same country as Tiago. And in 1987, we have an incident in which a capsule of cesium chloride was opened. Well, people who did it had no clue what was inside. And that causes the contamination of a city of Goiânia with millions of inhabitants, and led to the death of something like 6 people, including one very young child. That was really very heartbreaking. So this accident, because of ionizing radiation, accounted for more death than the accident of Fukushima. So you can get the dimension of the things we are dealing with. A capsule of some grams of cesium were responsible for the death of people because of ionizing radiation, while an accident of the proportion of the Fukushima accident was not related to the death of a single person due to the ionizing radiation. So you can see the problem if you don't have a good way to manage those sources. And of course, we have dispersion of radionuclides after atmosphere tests in the atmosphere by nuclear weapons, which was something that was carried out in the past and now is prohibited. So relevant radionuclides. Well, you have a list of radionuclides that are of your consideration. But then, to start our conversation, we need to make a distinction between what is important for us to consider, right? So, accidents in nuclear facilities. In Chernobyl accident, release of a wide range of radionuclides, most of them are short-lived. Relevance for remediation, long-term exposure. We are dealing with cesium-137, cesium-134, only in the first years because the half-life is of around 2 years, and strontium-90 and plutonium isotopes, but only close to the reactor within the 30-kilometer exclusion zone. So you may know that after the accident, as one of the measures to deal with the situation, there was a creation of exclusion zone of 30 kilometers around the reactor, and the contamination of a strontium-90 and plutonium was restricted to this zone. So the major radionuclide that interests in the long run is cesium-137. I could also put iodine-131 here, which was relevant in Japan. The point that iodine-131 has a short half-life, and exposure can be prevented by avoiding the ingestion of things like milk, or you take tablets of potassium iodine so that you saturate your thyroid with iodine and avoid the accumulation of the radioactive iodine in your thyroid, right? A special feature of plutonium decays to americium with 243 years, and of course that the americium will increase with time with the decay of plutonium. So in the scope of an accident of nuclear facilities, these are the radionuclides that we will be particular interest in looking at. Cesium-134, cesium-137, strontium-90, and plutonium-240. Although you may have all this, I spoke about iodine-131, but you have a half-life of 8 days. So it means that after 80 days, you will not have, after 10 half-lives, you will not have significant amounts of iodine in the environment. But in the first stage of an accident, that will be important. But for, for the sake of remediation, these are the radionuclides that we will be paying attention to. Just to give you a snapshot of what happened in Fukushima, we had releases to the atmosphere and the sea. Releases are much lower than from the Chernobyl. Relevance for remediation, cesium-137 and cesium-134, only in the first years. And in the case of Fukushima, negligible releases of strontium and plutonium isotopes because of the nature of the reactor itself and the nature of the accident itself. So this is very important to understand, and this is a comparison in terms of release to the atmosphere. So you can see that all in all, the releases in Chernobyl were much more significant than the releases that we could see in Fukushima. This is the area that has been affected by the accident, including Western Europe, that has also been affected by the transportation through the atmosphere. And then we have a contamination by nuclear weapons tests. These are those that were in charge of the tests: United States, United Kingdom, former Soviet Union, China, and France. So we are very much aware of these areas that we follow. We have a lot of work in Semipalatinsky, in Kazakhstan, in the Isale Islands in the Pacific, particularly in Mururoa, Marshall Islands. So we are following these areas for quite a bit of time. And then the global fallout from nuclear weapons tests based on information from ESKIR. We have this kind of data, and it has been argued in the past that this type of contamination was relevant and was in charge of increases of health effects. So there was a lot of discussions at the time on this topic. Interesting to understand that the weapons tests in the northern hemisphere, due to the air circulation, tend to be restricted to the northern hemisphere and not transferred to the southern hemisphere because of the way of the exchanges of air transportation that exist in the Earth. Okay, remediation. Remediation following nuclear test weapons in the atmosphere were carried out mainly between 45 and 63. Remediation area of the nuclear test site was in general not carried out, and remediation projects were carried out in Maralinga, the Bikini Atoll, Semipalatinsky test sites, only on small areas. So this is what we have for the remediation of these test sites. Accidents with medical or industrial radiation. So I just mentioned about it. Radioactive sources are used for a wide range of purposes in medicine, industrial radiography, food irradiation, sterilization, cross-link of polymers, cross-linking of polymers and batteries for pacemakers. So the major radionuclides, again, cesium-137, strontium-90, cobalt-60, iridium-192, and plutonium-238. So when you think about accidents related to these sources, these are the radionuclides that you will need to keep in mind. So you already sketched out what would you expect to find in terms of the type of situation where these radionuclides have been generated. So you can stretch out some of the radionuclides from what you'd be expecting because they were not important in this particular situation. This is what I was trying to show here. I already anticipated the accident in Goiânia in 1987. That was an opening of a medical sources containing cesium-137. Of course, the accident was not a terrorist act. It was an unintended spreading of activity in the part of the city. This was the total activity of cesium-137. You see the mass of the material, 90 to 93 grams. Very small mass to cause the mess that it created. The volume, 31 cubic centimeters. The point here is that the chemical form was a salt, and this is a cesium chloride, which is very water soluble and can be readily dispersible. Now, many of these sources are solid sources to avoid this dispersion. But at the time, unfortunately, the source that caused the accident was in the form of a salt, and a very soluble salt that could be dispersed very fast in the environment. The dose rate at 1 meter of the source, 4.6 rate per hour, which is a very important dose rate. So these are the pattern of the contamination of the city. You can see that from one single point, the contamination is spread throughout the area due to the characteristics of the radionuclide that I'm talking to you. So you have to focus on monitoring of soil, monitoring of the air, monitoring of buildings, and this is where we go into a very. I just want to make a parenthesis here and add some additional considerations, because the problem here is this confusion between contamination and hazard. right? In respect of the scientific meaning of the term contamination, the hazard is not necessarily part of that. In other words, something might be contaminated, but the level of contamination might not be relevant. But for the lay public, for the common members of a society, if something is contaminated, it is already an appropriate solution. So the first thing that comes to mind is to do what? When something is contaminated, what comes to mind? Panic, okay, but what is the action that is associated to contamination?
Decontamination.
Decontamination. And many will think that decontamination and remediation is the same, and it's not. You can remediate without decontamination. That was something important in Japan. Because, and you see, just again, I opened the parenthesis and I didn't close it yet. The point is, if you make an option for decontamination, what you will generate as a consequence?
Clean material and contaminated material.
Which is?
Clean, you will have the clean material which cleaned or decommissioned.
Yeah,
decontaminated, and the contamination material.
But what do we call the contaminated material generally? You made a very important point. Not only you call it radioactive, not only you call waste, but you call radioactive waste. And when you call something radioactive waste, it's already a headache, because radioactive waste will be dealt with in very specific ways and approach in different jurisdictions, right? So in the case of Japan, for example, the level of decontamination was aimed at achieving something like 1 millisievert per year air dose rate. We are not considering ingestion, just considering air dose rate. But in the policy that was developed, that was a long-term vision. But that was not the way it was understood by the population. They understood this as something to happen immediately. So the action was essentially to remove the contamination, and as a consequence, you generate a lot of waste. These wastes were transported to temporary storage facilities that they call karaoke. It's not the music, but karaoke is a temporary storage disposal. Then they were transferred to an interim storage facility, also in the Fukushima prefecture, and the plans say that in 30 years, this waste in the interim storage facility need to move to a repository, a final destination. You see the complication? And then the question to discuss is, what level of contamination are we talking about? Is it possible to say how safe is safe? I know that some people, social scientists, don't like that approach, how safe is safe. And they will put in the hands of the people to decide what they consider to be a level of contamination that they can live with. But what I think is, although I agree with this, for the sake of sustainability, what we are discussing here, although I agree with the concept, I want to say that, on the other hand, when you make a decision, you must be informed about the consequences of the decision you are making. So this is when you make an informed decision. Because otherwise, something that you decide thinking that it was the best for you will show that it would not be the best solution for yourself, because you are not aware of the consequences of what was going on. Did I make myself clear? So we are cursed, and I'm really fighting a lot in my organization to get rid of the word remediation, because remediation entails already a very bad thinking. You are giving a medicine, a remedy to to a situation which is already bad. I prefer thinking about how to manage the environment. We need to manage the environment. But manage the environment with a commitment to sustainable decisions, meaning that pursuing what we call the highest degree of safety, meaning bringing doses to zero, might not be the right answer for the problem. And that can only be achieved if you have a very good amount of interaction, conversation, explanation with the people that are being involved in the decision-making process. So this is what we want to develop during this course. And we will have the chance to go into this again. Alexander and Katrinel, they were in the conference of safety and sustainability last year in the agency. Anybody else was there in November? Only the two of them. And the thing that was being suggested is, where is the balance in terms of the necessary degree of safety you have to achieve, but with the sustainability of the actions that you put in place. And we will have opportunity to discuss more concrete in this regard. Natural radionuclides. So accidents and tests and sources, we are speaking essentially about what? Artificial radionuclides, right? Let's understand it. We are not talking about natural radionuclides. Now we are going to talk about natural radionuclides. When we are dealing with those things. Natural radionuclides, first of all, they are present everywhere. Many people may not be aware of this, but natural radionuclides are present in rocks, are present in the soils. We live with natural radionuclides around us. Only long-lived natural radionuclides with the half-life of age of the Earth and their decay products exist in relevant quantities in soil and rock. The daughters of nuclides of long-lived natural radionuclides may be short-lived, and the most important natural radionuclides are those of uranium and thorium-232 series and potassium-40. Other radionuclides, as those of uranium-235 series, rubidium and lutetium, samarium and lutetium, are much less important. So when we are talking about natural radionuclides, we are concentrating ourselves essentially in the decay chains of uranium-238 and thorium-232, taking into account that potassium-40 is already present in our bodies, right? So who are these guys? Essentially, we are talking about uranium-234, thorium-230, radium-220. Radon is a big issue being discussed, and to my understanding, sometimes more than necessary, but the point is that radon is a noble gas, and by exhalating, and be careful when we talk about emanation of radon and exhalation of radon. There are two different processes. Emanation is the movement of the radionuclide away from the matrix, and exhalation is what goes to the air. So it's a novel radionuclide, and then it can definitely, in some situations, have its concentration building up in closed space. In open space, radium-222 will hardly be an issue, unless if you are over a source of a radium like a tailings dam, even though not that big issue. And then you have lead-210 and polonium-210. So when you're talking about natural radionuclides, and keep in mind for your exercise, we are talking about these radionuclides. The problem with them is that the chemistry of these radionuclides are different among themselves. And depending on the chemistry, the deposition accumulation in the body will be different, and they be associated with different types of problems, right? And for thorium-232, we have thorium-232, actinium-228, thorium-228, radon as a noble gas, and then we go up until the lead. What is missing is a radium-228. It's not depicted here. Anyhow. Okay, where can we find these radionuclides? Particularly in mining, extraction of uranium, metal ores, phosphate, oil and gas. These are essentially the naturally occurring material related activities associated with the extraction of natural nuclides. This is unavoidable. Contamination level mining residues depend on the activity concentration of the host rock. Of course, if you have high ore grades, then you have higher concentrations, not only of the metal of interest, but also the radionuclides. Mining residues may be stored in piles like this, or in ponds, and materials might be dispersed by wind and rain. So when you have this kind of materials being generated, you need to be aware of how to avoid the dispersion of the radionuclides in the environment. So the important radionuclides, we have talked about them. Uranium-238, uranium-234, thorium-230, radium-226, radium-222, lead-210, in the thorium-232 series, thorium-232, radium-228, thorium-228, and radium-220. So, in terms of remediation and decommissioning, what to do with this, because this is what you're going to get after a mining operation, right? We can have mining operations that is underground operations in galleries, and in the industry-related industry, like in the oil and gas, what you may have is the deposition of scales in these pipes, and then these pipes need to be removed from the operation because the fluid cannot go through. And then you have an option, whether you dispose these pipes as waste or you remove the scales and then again you waste with waste that has to be managed, meaning it has to be disposed somewhere else. With the concept of circular economy, however, what we are putting forward is that many of these things can be recycled and bring it back to beneficial use. So the linear economy we talked so much, that you extract, you make, you dispose, is replaced by a concept where the wastes are no longer seen as something to be disposed, but you can extract value from the residues and put it back in the loop. We will discuss this later on. Decommissioning of facilities. Decommissioning is essentially a plan, and this is, I will speak about in the next presentation. Difference between remediation and decommissioning. Remediation is not a planned activity. I mean, you plan for remediation when you have to do it, no doubt. But it's not planned when you start an operation to have remediation, because remediation is essentially when things went wrong, in principle. But decommissioning, differently from remediation, it's planned. It's part of the life cycle of the particular operation. So you know from the beginning, that at some point in time, you will have to terminate the operation, and then you will need to do something about the facility. And that would include dismantling of components, as you can see here, cleanup of the site if operation caused contamination of the environment. In principle, they are not supposed to, but it can happen. But you see that I'm not talking about remediation here, I'm talking about cleanup. And I will explain this in details in my next presentation. The commissioning of nuclear facilities might cause release of radionuclides to the environment, so you need to have an environmental impact assessment for the commissioning, and you have to have a license for the commissioning. And in the context of remediation, only relatively long-lived radionuclides are relevant, right? But we try to avoid talking about remediation in the scope of the Commission. We, when I say we, IAEA language, because out there the countries do not make this distinction. But there is a lot of discussion for this. Radionuclides, of course, will be dependent on the facility. In the case of nuclear power plants, cesium-137, strontium-90, traces of actinides, and then you have activation products, usually incorporated in components like steel and concrete. That's the point of the decommissioning. You need a lot of characterization, and you need to pay attention to how you're going to deal with these structures that have incorporated this type of radionuclides. Full fabrication facilities, uranium isotopes, plutonium isotopes. Mining facilities, uranium, thorium, radioisotopes, lead-210, radium-220. Research facilities depends on the type of research. Usually radionuclide used for research are relatively short-lived, and waste management facilities, potentially a similar spectrum as for nuclear power plant. So this is well established. You know this, or you should know this, right? What you will be dealing with. Now,
sorry, the waste management was specifically nuclear waste, or?
Yeah, nuclear waste. We are speaking essentially about because and let's go for medical procedures. Medical procedures, the radionuclides you use are short-lived, so you wait for them to decay and release the waste as common waste after the decay of the important radionuclides. In mining activities, we are talking about tailings, we are talking about huge amounts of waste, so you manage those things on site. So what you need to do is to plan for the mining so that the site where the material will be disposed, is well designed to avoid leaching, interference in the groundwater, and you avoid the dispersion through aerial transportation. So the waste management facilities, important, is the same spectrum for nuclear power plants. And essentially, there is the issue of the spent fuel. But spent fuel is a double situation, because spent fuel is waste only when it's declared as waste, because it has the potential to be recycled, right? So there is a need for declaration that spent fuel is a waste, so that it can go to a waste repository for the repository facility. And you have the storage facility, generally in dry casks, and then, well, first of all in the pools, then in dry casks, and then the final solution, the proposed final solution is the underground disposal, deep geological disposal, which not every country has one to dispose the spent fuel so far. Good. Now, what is important for our conversation? The behavior of these radionuclides in the environment. So this is a very important topic for our discussion. We know who are the suspects. We know who are the criminals. So how they behave once they are in the environment. So inhalation of radionuclides, those particularly resuspended in air, in dust. Intake of food ingestion. You have plant food products, animal food products like milk, meat, eggs, drinking water, aquatic food, forest food, unintended intake of soil and sediments, right? And then you have internal exposure, radionuclide deposit in ground surfaces, radionuclides in water and sediments when you are immersed in the contaminated medium, and direct irradiation from a nuclear facility, like the material itself, spent fuel, radioactive waste, industrial sources, radioactive components of the facility. So these are the main exposure pathways where it gets into your body through inhalation, whether it gets through your body by intake of food, and then the external exposure, that is the direct contact of the radiation with your body. So in the case of any litigation, and this is where things start to becoming interesting, because We know that you can only attribute an effect to radiation to high doses. You agree with me? I see faces like, do I agree or do I not agree? What we have now is that the dose effect relationship can only be ascertained for deterministic effects. The only thing that you can measure, this is very important, the only thing you can measure is the external dose rate that you use a detector. That you can measure. Internal exposure, you can only calculate. What you can measure is the internal contamination using a whole body detector, right? But in terms of exposure, these things are calculated. As the inhalation, you can characterize the material in the air, but you will estimate of how much will be inhaled by a human being, right? For these things, you need to consider very carefully what kind of situation of exposure you are dealing with. And in many circumstances of litigations, it will be very difficult to prove that the effect that you are dealing with was attributed to a potential exposure to radionuclides. Why? Why? What is the main effect of exposure to radiation? What is the main health effect that comes out from the exposure to radiation? Cancer, right? The main effect of exposure to radiation is cancer, which is a probabilistic effect. And we know that the level of incidence of cancer in human beings is somewhere between 14–20% of the population. So when we talk about cancer induced by ionizing radiation, we are talking about excess cancer, the excess on the top of the natural incidence of the population. So, for example, if you are trying to connect cancer, lung cancer, with radon, you need to exclude, for example, is the person a smoker? Because if you smoke, you are already increasing your risk. Yes, you too. When I see you smoking, I said, come on. You are increasing the case for lung cancer. It doesn't mean that you will have lung cancer only if you smoke. What it means that you are increasing the probability of developing lung cancer. But then, when you want to associate lung cancer with radon, you need to exclude other factors from the situation. And when you have dispute in court, right? Definitely, one of the sides will pursue all these arguments, and you will be one case that will be being presented. And due to the nature of probabilistic effects, you need to demonstrate this through epidemiological studies. The problem is that the statistical power of epidemiological study needs, in principle, a high number of people. And this can be very expensive to demonstrate. So this is essentially one thing I'm anticipating in terms of the exercise you're going to do. I told you that all the tips would be given during the presentations. So You think about it. Exposure pathway. These things, the doses that come out of these things are calculated. You need, in the mathematical models you have for that, and there are many mathematical models for that, you need to attribute value to parameters. And these values vary in large ranges. What value are you going to pick? Definitely, regulators will generally think in a very conservative way. Let's maximize the value so that we be in a conservative position so that we take care of the uncertainty. Now I'm starting to complicate the adding terminologies. But to be on the safe side, precautionary principle. If I don't know, I will be on the most conservative side. I will maximize all the possibilities for exposure to be assured that the exposures are not relevant. So this is because this you cannot measure, this you can estimate. The only thing you can measure is the exposure to gamma radiation. But then, in terms of dose, what you have in the equipment is already a function in the routine, in the calculations that transform absorbed dose to effective dose in the equipment. So it's also a calculation. So be careful with this. So these are the environmental media that are relevant: air, soil, vegetation, animal products, surface water, fish and sediments. And this is all this transfer, soil to plant. These things are described by means of transfer factors. And there is a vast amount of work being done by the radioecologists for decades now. Soil type A, soil of type B, temperate situations, in tropical situations, And then when an accident occurs and you need to deal with soil, what happens? Scrap it all. Don't care about it. Scrap it all and you generate a lot of waste, but who cares? That's the truth. There is a difference between the science and the real world. And in many cases, in the real world, what will prevail will be the pragmatic solution. The one that you can put in place and end of story. Although there may be consequences. Right? The same for animal products, water, fish. If the water is contaminated, how much will go to the fish? And how much from the fish will go to man? And that depends on how much fish you eat. If you go to Japan, it will be one situation. If you go to a countryside of a country like mine, it's a completely different situation. Eventually you can scrap out one of these exposure pathways because simply they do not exist for that particular matter. So you need to be very careful in analyzing and establishing a key element for decision making, which is the conceptual side model. Fundamental importance. You need to sketch all these possible pathways from a source to a receptor to understand how these things can get to you and what is the interference you can make to reduce the exposures. Noting that you are dealing with 3 dimensions. One dimension is, of course, the environmental dimension. It is about the protection. The second dimension is economic dimension, because everything you will do will cost money, more or less depending on what you decide to do. And the third dimension is the social dimension. So when we talk about sustainability, we are talking about how to combine these 3 dimensions and integrate them in your decision-making process. But for that, You need to understand this. You cannot escape that. So, absolutely, we are talking about a multidisciplinary process where you combine different knowledges. And that's what makes remediation, for example, very exciting, because you bring everything together. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And most of all, you need to interact with a wide range of stakeholders that, you can imagine if, I heard something yesterday that was very interesting. Everybody, sorry, I make some digressions in my lectures because things come to pop up my mind, and I think they are wise to discuss. Many people say that the problem we have in our society are the politicians. We have bad decisions because we have bad politicians, right? And then what we need to do about them is to take them out of power. We have to replace them. And then I think it was Milton Friedman that was telling this, that we think that politicians are the wrong people making the wrong decisions in general. This is a kind of a consensus in many places. So the question is, we need to get rid of the politicians. And he said, no, the point is the politicians are moved by their interest. So what we need to make sure is that they are motivated to do the right things and see that the right things are profitable to them. So this is the way we should deal with politicians, right? To demonstrate that the good things for the society are also good things to benefit them in their careers. So this is a challenge to make things happen. So what does it have to do with the kind of things we are talking about? We need to find a way to demonstrate all these things so that the right thing is understood as beneficial for the people, not in the same way as we're talking about the politicians, but as in a way that they can believe and they can trust the information they are giving. Because if that trust does not exist, forget about it. You won't go very far. So this is a very good representation of a what we can call conceptual site model. This is what you will come up with. You see, Katrina, that I will give the answers during the presentations. So this is essentially what will be the underlying things that you need to do when you have a scenario. Okay, where are your sources? Where are your discharges? Atmosphere? Do we have discharge to the atmosphere? If we do, okay, we need to consider all this. But if we don't have, forget about this. You concentrate on this one. And then, what is the situation? What you need to look into? The type of contamination of the soil. Is it agricultural soil? Is there any cultivation there? Yes or no? Are there animals that are feeding? Is there any water body in which fish can be contaminated? So these are the things you need to. And then you have the dose to the representative person. Calculated, not measured, calculated. But this is very important basis to develop a conceptual site model. This is what you're going to have to do in your exercise. Okay? And then you have a rough estimation of the importance of the transfer factors for the different radionuclides. This is very well established. For example, transfer to soil to plant for cesium. That's a very high importance. But for thorium, it's very low. So you can do some back of the envelope calculation if you understand those things. I see people putting a lot of effort to calculate the transfer factor from soil to plants for thorium. What the hell? You are wasting your money doing that. Because we know that in the case of thorium, it's very immobile. It's very immobile. So you can already sketch out the overall understanding of the situation by taking into consideration this type of information. And that will depend very much on the chemistry of the radionuclides. And that you can find in the literature. That is very well documented in the literature. So if you have a problem that you're dealing with remediation, very first thing, conceptual site model. Understand how things are being metabolized. And with the support of the literature, you will, in understanding the behavior of the different radionuclides in the environment, you will be able to have a very good understanding, first understanding of the situation you are dealing with. And that is valid to any one situation that you will be working with. These are the relevant radionuclides for external exposure. Of course, it depends if they are gamma emitter, if they are beta emitter, if they are alpha emitter. Of course, if you have alpha emitter, external exposure will not be important. The beta, but if I have a gamma emitter, then it's... So you can already nail down. You understood the... Okay, I will try to come to the end. So, complementing your exposure scenario, your conceptual site model, well, these are the situations, you know, the resident, soil, tap water, fish, air, construction, outdoor worker, indoor worker, recreator, farmer. So you have different situations that you need to incorporate in what we will learn about the conceptual site model. So, in summary, we examine a wide range of events that can cause contamination of site and areas. What you need to do is, what I have in hand, in which category I'm falling in. You have the information, right? We know what are the issues in each one of them, right? Nuclear accident, dispersion from sources, nuclear weapons, mining of metals and ore, destruction of oil and gas. This encompasses most of the situation you will be dealing with, right? Next step, in which one of them, what are the radionuclides I'm dealing with? Another thing that you can tick the box, because you know, as from the situation here, what kind of things you are dealing with. Next thing to understand, what is the environmental behavior of these guys? What is the chemistry? Where they accumulate? Where they go to? You know? And then, in which way this will lead to exposure of the public in those circumstances. So these are the questions you need to ask for the exercise you will do. You need to structure that. The information you have. Now you need to contemplate the exercise. Or anything you're going to do, by the way, it's not only the exercise, anything you're going to do, and strategize in which situation you are. More than that, only if I do the exercise for you. Any question? Anything that was not clear? I extrapolate a little bit the time, but it's normal.
This is on the Teams drive, right?
Yeah, it's in the Teams. Yeah, everyone has access to that. Any question, any comment, disagreement? Oh, I don't agree with that. Or I have a situation in which it's not here. Nothing. So at least the message that comes out, those who are smoking, stop it. Right? No?
Because
Okay.
you wouldn't win in court.
Yeah, you run a risk. So let's make a break, and I guess it's a half an hour, 20 minutes break. It will be a bit tough today with a lot of presentations, but this is the introductory part. And then you have Giuseppe, which is much more energetic than me, so you have a chance to be a little bit more diversity in the way we present our lectures. Sir.
Thank you.